Asteroid goddesses, these are some images of some of them, and you'll notice most of them are kind of weird, wonky shapes, with save for the one that has that blue sapphire lake or something in the center of it, the biggest one, which is Ceres, that one on the bottom left corner. And it's interesting because Ceres, yeah, is this round shape. And as we'll learn, it's actually not a asteroid. It actually was promoted to minor planet. And that's the case with some of these. Retroactively, they were like, oh, they're actually minor planets,
Huh.
So here we go. Oh, and before I switch the slide, I do want to add that so these goddesses of asteroids were discovered in space in 1801, 1804, 1802, 1807, and this is the early 1800s. So Demetra had a really excellent point that many of the women born around the discovery of these asteroids were later participating in the Seneca Conference, which was one of the first, it was the first women's suffragette movement in the United States
Wow.
for women's rights, women's equality. So it's cool because we'll see in some of these archetypes a lot of the feminine stories. And the first one we'll talk about is Ceres. And the name Ceres comes from the Greeks, and she is the goddess of the grain. We get our word cereal from her. She represents the harvest, agriculture, working within larger biological cycles and rhythms. And we mentioned Persephone, her daughter, who was abducted. Ceres mourned, and so she created the seasons because, her daughter could only come certain times of the year,
Yeah,
and so there
Persephone.
was darkness the other times. And the harvest is this period where we really have to just like store up. And so she has a lot to do with themes of like taking in nourishment. It can in a chart show what areas we best give love and comfort, depending on what sign it's in, what house it might be in. And on a more shadow perspective in a chart, it can maybe be tied to things like eating disorders, themes around loss of a child, separation from a
Mm.
child, custody issues can all be prominent when we kind of unpack series within a chart, prominently within a chart.
Do you have it in a significant place in your chart?
Not series, no, not in any, because the qualifier for asteroids are a little, or dwarf planets are a little more stringent. You need it to be within any aspect, probably 3 degrees ideal max. But I do know some astrologers who will use orbs as big as 8 if it's a conjunction to a personal planet. But if it's like a trine, sextile, square, opposition, it should be like a 3 degree orb.
Or about
So,
a 2 degree, 1 to 2 degrees, I would say.
yeah. And she's discovered 1801. She's located between Mars and Jupiter in this asteroid belt where actually all these asteroids we'll talk about today are found. And she was seen as an asteroid for a while and then became promoted as a minor hors d'oeuvre planet. And it was interesting because then Pluto, which was considered for a while to be a legitimate, just full on planet, was demoted to minor planet. So it's kind of interesting because there's this retribution type, like balancing of the scales that happen because Pluto is of course the one who abducted her daughter. So within the astrological community, there's ideas that, oh, this demotion of Pluto and promotion of Ceres is this kind of like, I guess, like moment of, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but like I think retribution's the best word.
So
Like,
maybe her time no longer in the underworld, but kind of personifying Persephone in that sense of maybe Persephone finally being freed from the underworld.
yeah, something like some closure around that mythology of like having Pluto kind of put in its place, if you will, metaphorically, symbolically.
What
Uh,
I what,
Go ahead.
what I said earlier on our first attempt at this vid was
The computer died.
yeah, was
I
that
was being silenced.
Pluto was having its resurgence. um, being a very plutonic and plutonic sensitive person, I'm very aware of the Pluto interregnum we're going through, which Ross spoke of in his
What's
in
interregnum for
his
those who don't speak
creation of human
wizard?
design. The interregnum is the idea that Pluto goes through its full cycle and it's completing it in our time right now.
Meaning
And
it's gone through all the signs, which takes a shit ton of time.
right, because we know how slow Pluto is, of course.
How slow is Pluto?
1 degree every
2 years? I think it's something like that.
something ridiculous like that. And so it's the idea with Pluto being demoted in these last, what was it, 2002 it was demoted?
Early 2000s, yeah.
Early 2000s. So it's the idea that, and there was an article on this on Jogan Archive that Ross said Pluto will have its revenge because
For the demotion?
yeah, because Pluto's going to be going into Aquarius in 2024, which will signify an end to a lot of things that are going on now, you know. And because right now we're in the Pluto Capricorn cycle, so Pluto is spreading its evil, its destruction of the land.
It's
Capricorn.
transformation is another way we can think about it.
Oh, we always think about it that way, but what kind of transformation?
Well, it has to be burned before it can be built up against the phoenix rising from the ashes.
That's what's happening.
So Vesta, to get back on the goddess bandwagon, to reclaim my voice here, my feminine voice.
Here we go.
Vesta was discovered in 1807. She is the second largest asteroid, again, also considered a minor or dwarf planet. And by the way, these numbers are the numbers you can plug in if you are on astro.com and you generate your astrology chart. You can add additional objects and put number 4 in the additional objects, or even, I don't know, no, yeah, you have to put the number, comma, and then whatever other objects, asteroids.
Can we show them how to do it at the end?
We could. So yeah, it's just another way to identify these things in your chart. Some apps will maybe just give you the option of adding another displayed chart item. Like I use Astro Gold and it's under displayed chart point or displayed chart items, and then you highlight whatever ones you want to come up. But the Greeks knew this archetype as Hestia. She is the goddess of virginity, fire, a keeper of sacred flames. And virginity is interesting because there were these virginal goddesses who kept these flames to represent, the protection of their cities. And some of these goddesses, though, when we look back, weren't necessarily virgins in the sense that we know that word. Some of them actually would have ritualistic sex practices where they would have sex with these warriors coming back from battle as a way to purify them of the bloodshed and their violence, I guess, in war. And so there's something to do with the Vesta archetype that has to do with this like control over sexuality and this kind of, I guess, this interesting blend of like sexuality with something sacred. And in a chart, it will show what is most sacred to us. And the glyph here is this representation of fire over a hearth. And yeah, I forgot to mention CERES glyph. I do want to go back to that. Is this sickle, which is used in harvesting, and it's actually the moon representing receptivity over the cross of matter. And that brings us to Pallas, one of my favorite asteroid goddesses. Pallas was discovered in 1802, considered a proto-planet remnant, so kind of a remnant of what used to be, an older solar system. That's what a lot of asteroids are. They're remnants from like a more ancient solar system. They're these kind of like fragments off of like what used to be maybe more whole bodies. And so the Romans knew this archetype as Minerva, and Pallas is born asexually, just from the head of Zeus. And she was born with a full body of armor and a shield. Like that's how she was born. She's so badass. And she is the goddess of intuition and information, the blending of these two things, which we can call creative intelligence. And so there's this kind of merging of active and receptive energies within Pallas. And she's a master at pattern detection and practical arts and handicrafts like pottery and weaving. And she was also in charge of war strategy. So she's like this more civilized almost version of Artemis in a way, like because she was like used strategically to plot, war and understand and communicate different teachings and wisdoms. The owl is a symbol associated with Pallas. And in our chart, wherever she's located can show where we have genius qualities. And yeah, I find her interesting because the themes of her kind of represent this feminine energy, which might feel almost like a how to merge or synthesize the like left brain feminine with like the more social roles of what it is to be like a wife or a partner, or you know kind of like balancing those two sides, like the rational with the more emotional. So that would be Pallas, and her glyph is this diamond on top of a cross, which is supposed to represent this battle spear.
Interesting.
Yeah. And because she has to do with pattern detection, I did find an interesting article that talked about how she would be prominent in the charts of astrologers, because she is so good at like finding the patterns. And there was like all these like case study examples of like astrologers and where she was in their charts. Really interesting.
But Asteroid Wizard would be better.
Yeah, there is an asteroid called Asteroid Wizard, though I don't.
Someone has it in a prominent place.
Yeah,
one of us.
One of us has it in a prominent place.
Say.
We won't say. We'll leave you guys to figure that out. So yeah, Pallas Athene, Pallas Athena, and anything else do I have to say about her? I feel like maybe I had something else, but I think I kind of covered it. And do you have Pallas? Do you know where you have Pallas? Or?
Hidden in the 12th, just like
all these
just like all the goddess
You have
asteroids.
all these feminine parts of you.
They're all hidden in the 12th. There's no feminine that you can see.
We need to like extract them from you. So then we have Juno. Someone left the door open. Then we have Juno, who was discovered in 1804. And Juno is the third biggest asteroid, if you will, and the Greeks knew her as Hera. She's the goddess of partnership, marriage, and commitment, and the queen of the gods. And the mythology around Juno is like she's married to Jupiter. Jupiter was like very unfaithful, and she still was this like
loyal, very loyal
consort, like this loyal wife, and
like a Victor Hugo type relationship. He had a wife who was really loyal to him, but he went and did whatever he wanted.
But the other side of the Juno archetype is like this balance, this equality within partnership that is represented by this archetype, and justice kind of coming into partnership. And so in charts, it will show what we need in partnership. And this asteroid plays pretty heavily. It's one of the asteroids, though you can get really deep into synastry asteroids because you've got your own studies. But you go deep in the asteroids of synastry. But Juno is a really good one to pull in with a spouse, with a partner, a romantic partner, to see if there's context between Juno, if Juno is contacting their personal planets. You would see it a lot within married couples. Juno kind of interactions, compatibility, harmony between these two with personal planets. And the glyph, I feel like there's a story behind the glyph, and I'm like blanking, but it's an interesting one. It's like almost like the sextile symbol on top of the cross.
The cross of matter, yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you know where Juno is in your chart?
Sagittarius. Almost conjunct. Well, depending on how wide of an orb, it's conjunct my sun.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But I also have it conjunct Black Moon Lilith. So I don't know, like, what's Meg about that?
I don't know either. I have to look at that one. That's fun. Oh wow.
Uh,
We'll do a we'll do a video on that, the Liliths. I
Lilith.
think we should do
Lilith
all
needs its
three.
own, because
Yeah.
there's three Liliths, and Lilith, there's an asteroid Lilith, but Lilith is
I think four even.
needs its own video. Lilith is the wild, raw, sexual, feminine sexuality,
Hmm.
unrepressed. She was the original wife of Adam in Jewish mythology, and she didn't want to be like tied down. She's actually kind of the opposite archetype of Juno.
Ah,
That's why, we bring
that's
her
why,
up,
yeah.
because it's like the other side of like, no, I will not be in partnership. I do not want to be repressed. Um,
There's a pretty good representation that in a series. It was a vampire series. What was it called? True Blood. If any
mm,
of you guys saw True Blood during the sixth and seventh season, they had a character who transformed and became, and they called her Lilith, and she was like destroying vampires and stuff, and it's really interesting how they were using that mythos in it.
yeah, she comes up across cultures. I mean, a lot of the dark goddesses like Isis, Hecate are kind of all different, almost like manifestations of the Lilith, that original like
Ah, that makes
sinful
sense.
feminine,
That
like.
makes sense because Hecate gets a bad rap. I have it conjunct my sun, interestingly enough. Which supposedly means some people have interpreted as not being able to see certain sides of myself, like
Like
hidden parts.
splits.
Yeah, like splits or hidden parts of myself that I can't see or that I don't accept in myself, like a dark aspect or dark
Well,
aspects
we
of
all
myself.
have that. Don't feel bad.
But it's on my sun.
So yeah, that covers. These are the four kind of key asteroids that I think people are like the quickest to look for, since they're considered pretty big bodies and significant within the solar system. So you can go a little more deep. Demetra George has a really good video where she even gets into like how there's hundreds of asteroids with names. You can find like an asteroid named after your mom, or someone significant in your life, or a place you were born, and like find it in your chart. So it gets pretty wild. And the idea is that, well, some people argue, well, these asteroids were just arbitrarily named. But there is something like Demetra George has found in all of her work with asteroids, that it doesn't matter where the names came from, that these archetypes really do play out in people's charts when they're in prominent placements. So something like the fractal representing the whole, meaning that,
Mm.
you can do divination from anything. Like I can do divination from how those objects are laid out right over there. Even though it seems random, we could still derive like a meaning from that.
Yeah, that the I mean, we live in a holographic universe, so every part is a reflection of the whole. That's why in looking at things that way, you realize that there's such an avenue to, I don't know, just healing ourselves or finding utility in very minute things or studies, because everything is like a reflection of something else, of some greater aspect.
And all the maps kind of lead the same place, regardless of
The
the one you
planets
choose.
above or the planets within us that are moving within us, our organs. I mean, there's so many different reflections we could go into. Do we want to show them right now how to do it on astro.com? I could do that real quick.
Um, okay, we can pull that up. And by the way, as Mario is pulling this up, we are both available we do, each of us do natal chart readings, and we can help make sense if people are watching and they're like, okay, this is cool, but how does this relate to me? Or how can I find this in my chart? We'll show you, but if you need help with the maybe synthesis of how these archetypes play out, or understanding it on that level, we both do readings. Do you need help finding the internet? Okay, here, I'll just pull it up. It's
Yeah,
probably
pull it right
faster.
here. Right now.
He's not used to the PC world. Okay. So we're just going to go to, is the screen still sharing?
It's showing us. It's not sharing this image, so they won't see this.
Should we share the screen?
Not yet. Not until we get it up.
Okay.
Otherwise, it'll just cause confusion.
Astro.com.
So astro.com is an amazing resource. Once you can get around that website and navigate it, don't do anything more. We got to show this part to them. Okay. Once you can start utilizing this resource, you can really just see in your own chart what we're talking, especially today. You can see
Okay, so
yourself.
we're sharing the screen.
And this is really easy to do because the asteroids Molly and I went
Did
over.
I do it correctly?
No.
Share.
Yeah, you did. You did it correctly. Perfect.
Yeah, look at me. I'm a winner. So you go to free horoscopes. Oops. And then you go to
What? Why are you showing them?
natal chart ascendant.
Thought I was gonna show them.
Oh, do you want a job? So I'm just gonna go to guest user. You don't have to create an account. You can if you want to save all the charts in here.
Yeah. If you create an account, you could save like up to 100 charts.
You put your birth info here. Then you do show, or then you go continue. Do we have to really enter all this?
You really do.
Oh my god. Okay, let's.
You don't use Astro.com at all?
I do, but I didn't sign in. All right, so let me do.
Just put a letter. No, we're not putting mine. Just put a letter.
I don't want all my confidential stuff in here.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, we'll do mail.
Worried about what Astro.com is gonna do.
No, the YouTube community. 1994, and then we're gonna do 2 a.m.
So we're gonna do a random person born in January of 1994.
Cities in Algeria. That should
be anywhere.
Okay, birth town. Let's do Redwood City. Perfect. We are doing Redwood City, USA. Oh, cool.
Okay, here we go. So here's the chart. This is the astro chart, and then we're gonna go now. So we've established the chart. But in order to have the asteroids show up, Molly has to go back and she has to go to another section. So go back to the beginning. Go to the top. No, not back.
Oh, we go to the extended
chart.
Selection, which I thought I did. Oh, wait, no, I just did natal chart. Oops.
You did it again.
Extended chart selection, which is what I think I originally selected. So anyway, you have the birth info. It has my data from whatever, me. And then you scroll down to additional objects. And actually here, you don't even need the number. You can just shift.
Yeah, CERES, PALLAS, Juno, and Vesta are all right there.
Right there. But as you can see, there's quite a pantheon of... This doesn't cover the tip of the freaking iceberg.
You guys don't want to know about Nessus. We'll do a video of dark asteroids and I'll have a lot of fun.
And then I'll have fun competing with you and arguing that. Oh, yeah. I don't think you should look at those things.
Denial.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
And then you select them and here we go. Click to show the chart. So this random chart we came up with. You see Juno in the 12th hidden.
Look at that Chiron in the 11th. Painful friendships. Just got hurt right there. Ouch.
So this is just an idea. There's Vesta. You can recognize the glyphs we showed.
So wait, what is that in the 12th?
Juno.
Oh, this person's... Well, at least they're hitting us laugh, take light of our failures.
Yeah, we love the dark.
But this is look at this great chart here, though. This imaginary, imaginary.
They've got quite the stellium in Capricorn. It's actually similar to my chart.
I want to point out the Jupiter. Look at that Jupiter on the ascendant. This is an expansive person. Everything expands for them, right? Jupiter there, a blessing to there. Okay, so we're going to call it. It's pretty.
Yeah, if you guys have any further questions with how to find these asteroids and interpret them in your chart.
They're Scorpio ascendant, though.
We will be more than happy to help you out.